Thank you for listening to the Business Blast podcast. So for all my listeners out there that have been wanting to do your own podcast, I'd like to introduce to you Anchor. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, distributing, and monetizing your podcast. So before I found Anchor, I had never actually done a podcast because all the research that I had gathered made it seem very complex. Then I found Anchor, and Anchor makes podcasting extremely simple. So if you want to do your own podcast, go to anchor.fm/start. I can't wait to hear your podcast. Welcome to the Business Blast podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Wagner. This episode is brought to you by Authors Unite. Authors Unite provides you with all the resources you need to become a successful author. You can learn more about Authors Unite and join the free community at authorsunite.com. Now, let's jump into the episode. All right, everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Business Blast podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Wagner. Today I have Joel Wolh with us. He is the CEO of Boutique Seller Services, a company that services Amazon and e-commerce sellers with everything from content to advertising to accounting. So welcome to the show, Joel.
Thank you, and everything in between. There's lots of other services in there. Thanks for having me. What's in your Thursday?
Of course, brother. This Thursday, I'm doing a lot of podcast interviews, so that's been pretty much my day. What about yours?
Just chilling, sitting at my desk, and just thinking up ways to blast myself into outer space of beyond Amazon. Just go above it all, man, and just really take over.
Yes, I love it, man. I've thought about that a little bit today as well. So I'm with you. So we'll dive in, brother, to the first one. The first question I have for you, Joel, is what is the best story from your life that has an underlying valuable message?
That's a great question. I think the best story of my life with this positive message that I only kind of rediscovered, it happened about 20 years ago when I was in school. And I wasn't sure what major I should go for. And I met a very wise man who I've since, I've known this man for a long time. And I asked him, I said, what do you think about this or that? And he looked at me and he says, I got to tell you something. There's only one Joel, only one. There's only one in this entire planet of billions of people. You're the only one like you, unique. And therefore, anything that you do, you can do uniquely in your own way, creatively so, and no one else can touch it. And it took me about 15 years to understand what he meant. Now I fully get it. And, the message is that you can set yourself apart in any space that you're in. You can be the one in your space.
And what is the most valuable piece of information we should know that's within your expertise or industry?
Well, in my core company is focused on Amazon advertising. I think it's while Amazon plays it up, it's still underrated. It's still, people don't realize that Amazon ads is the singular most important aspect of selling on Amazon. And I would say if you're selling on Amazon, should be your biggest focus. And the other piece is there are no hacks. There are no hacks to success, whether it's Amazon or anything else you're doing.
And could tie in, but what's your best piece of overall business advice? So not necessarily industry specific.
Overall business advice. Yeah, there are no hacks. I would say that actually would be applicable to this too. Yeah, there are no hacks. You have to work day in, day out. You have to keep that vision alive and just keep on hustling.
And if you could give your younger self one piece of advice, what would that be?
I would say to myself, I don't know what I would say to myself. Okay, I would have to say to myself, I would say, Joel, think big. Think really big because you can do it. That's what I would say.
And in your opinion, what is the key to happiness?
Man, these questions. Who writes these questions? Key to happiness. Ask Gandhi. I think if you had to ask me, I would say the key to happiness is just being happy. Because if you can act happy, you'll be happy. So just fake it till you make it. That's the key to happiness.
And what is the best book that you've read, and what was the number one thing you learned from that?
So I'm not sure about the best book ever, but as it applied to my business and as it applies to service businesses, I like to use this book as an example. Built to Sell by John Warlow. And the book talks, in a very simplified manner, the book talks about building a service-based business and scaling, learning how to scale it in order to sell it, but overall applying the processes and tactics that you need, strategy that you need to grow your business, even in the service industry. Yeah.
And what is your favorite quote and why?
Vegas strong? No. Okay. I was asked this yesterday on another podcast, and I said it's the duty to success, or Success is Your Duty by Grant Cardone. Grant lit a fire under my, about, 6-7 years ago. And that's the one thing that I recall him saying was, you have a duty to succeed. Success is not an option, not a choice. It's not something that you want to do. You'd like to get rich. I want to be rich. I want to have a big house. No, you have a duty to succeed. If you go in there every day, you have an office, you get in there, there's a responsibility. You can't goof off. You can't put up one of those ping pong tables. That's not what work is for. Work is for to go in there and succeed.
Yes, man. Dude, thank you so much for coming on. This was a fun and valuable episode. The last question I have for you before we let you go is, where is the best place for people to find you online?
You know that. It's LinkedIn. That's it.
LinkedIn. Thanks again, brother.
All right. Pleasure being here. Hustle on.